Hi class, welcome to our 2.2 lesson on proportions. Go ahead and grab your notes and we'll get started. For starters, proportions are two ratios that are equivalent. Equivalent is a fancy word for equal. For example, a half and 2/4 are equivalent because they both equal a half. In order to determine if two ratios are proportional, you must simplify and compare them. Let's look at two examples. Are these ratios proportional? Well, for my first example, I have 2/4, which if I simplify that can become half. And 8/11 can't be simplified any further. So then I ask myself, is a half equal to 8/11? And the answer is no. So these ratios are not proportional. Let's move on to our next problem. 15/25 and 3/5. Well, 3/5 is as simple as I can get. So now I'm going to see if I can simplify 15/25. Since I know that 15 and 25 are both divisible by 5, because my divisibility rule for 5 states that any number that ends in 5 or 0 is divisible by 5, then I can divide them both by 5, which simplifies this fraction to 3/5, which, hey, look at it, is equal to 3/5. So are these ratios proportional? The answer is yes. For our third one, I want you to try this out. When you finish answering whether or not these two ratios are proportional, then I want you to raise your hand and I will come over to check your work. Now we're ready to move on to setting up and solving proportional problems. When we're looking at word examples, word problem examples, the first tip that I have for you is to always start with the word form of the ratio. The second tip I have for you is to set the ratios equal to each other, but make sure they are written in the same order. For example, if I have a situation where I have a deal where $3 I can get 2 pieces of candy, and I want to solve to find out how many pieces I can get for $5, in this example I'm going to be comparing cost and pieces of candy. What I mean by making sure that they are written in the same order is I don't want to write 2 up top here and 3 down here, because remember, cost for this example is actually $3 over 2 pieces. And I want to set that up equal to $5 over X. So you must make sure that your numbers match the words that they represent. Finally, our final tip 3 is to solve, cross multiply, and solve for the variable. Now let's look at example 1. L bought 2 bags of carrots for $1.80. How many heads of cabbage can L buy if she has $28.80? Now I realize I made a typo, so we are going to change a few things here. Before we solve, the quick correction we just made is to change this to 2 bags of cabbage. How many bags of cabbage can L buy if she has this amount? Now, the first thing I need to do is start with the written form of the ratio. The two things that I'm comparing is bags, and I'm going to be comparing cost. Why did I write bags on top and cost on the bottom? Well, the question asks how many bags. So I'm not going to know how many bags, okay? Now, I'm going to draw my arrow. I'm going to set the two ratios equal to each other. It says that L bought 2 bags of cabbage for the cost of $1.80. I'm going to set that equal to my next ratio, which is how many bags, X, can she buy if she has $28.80. Now that I have these ratios set to equal one another, I am now going to cross multiply and solve. So I'm going to end up with $1.80 times X equals 2 times $28.80. Okay? Now I know that $1.80 times X is going to be the same thing as 180X equals, and when I do the math for this, I'm going to get 57.60. Now, in order to get X by itself, I'm going to simply divide both sides by 1.80. 1.80. That's going to leave me with 1X, which we know is X. And my final answer is going to be 32. Now, I'm not done yet. What does this 32 mean? It means bags of cabbage. How many bags of cabbage can Elle buy if she has this amount? She can buy 32 bags. So I'm going to be sure that I put that so that I know what this 32 means. Let's look at the next example. TNT Trucking Company is having a holiday sale on tires where the current price is 2 tires for $240. If Honda has $1,080 to spend on tires, how many tires can they purchase with this budget? So the two units that I'm going to be comparing with this example are tires, the amount of tires, and cost. Okay? Now, I'm going to write my first ratio, which is that the current price is 2 tires for $240. That's pretty expensive. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is set my equal sign, and I'm going to equal that to this next ratio. If Honda has a budget, and I'm going to put my cost down here, of $1,080, how many tires can they purchase with this budget? Now that I have my two ratios set up to one another, equal to each other, I'm going to solve for X by cross multiplying, and then that's going to give me 240X equals 2 times 1,080. Okay? Now, I know that 240X is the same thing as 240 times X. So I'm just going to bring that down. And when I do this math, I'm going to end up with 2,160. Finally, in order to solve for X, I must divide both sides by 240. And my final answer is going to be 9. I can't stop here because what does this 9 represent? If I look back to X, X is in the numerator. And in the numerator, I'm talking about tires. So this 9 represents the fact that with this budget, Honda can purchase 9 tires. Let's look at our two bottom example problems. Since this is just a regular numbers problem, I'm going to solve for X by cross multiplying. That is going to give me 8 times X equals 4 times 11. I know that 8 times X is the same thing as 8X equals 4 times 11 is 44. To solve for X, I'm going to divide both sides by 8, which gives me X equals 5.5. Now I want you to try example 4 on your own. When you finish, get Ms. Fersner's attention so that I can check this problem for you. Make sure you show your work. And then you can flip to the back and begin your practice activity. You may work with a partner if you so choose. See ya!